and our chairwoman is going to explain that via Zoom. Madam Chair? Is she on there? Do you see it? I can't see that.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair Blackman, for assisting me in my absence, and for everyone for being patient. I will do my best to speak up so you can hear me. My voice is not the best today, but please stop me if, as I go along, you have trouble hearing me. This bill, Senate Bill 2825, now the committee sub that you have been provided, it differs greatly from the version that was online, so I'm going to do my best to hit every high point here, and we'll start for questions momentarily. This is very focused on continuing our infrastructure improvement that we began in the summer of 2018 with the large infrastructure bill that you all remember. The lottery was a part of that, the use tax, and so forth. We've made a lot of progress since that time. And so this bill attempts to continue that progress, and it attempts to take advantage of some economic development opportunities that I know that we have as a state that would benefit all of us. So I'm going to skip around in the sections and explain it the way that I think the bill would make the most sense to you. In sections 23 and 24 of the bill, which begins on line 1506, this calls for a diversion of up to $80 million annually from the lottery fund into the Emergency Road and Bridge Fund for 3 years. As you all know, currently up to $80 million a year of the lottery fund goes into the highway fund. This in no way affects the amount over $80 million that goes into education at all. And that's very clear in the bill, sections 23 and 24. So that will give us up to $240 million that will go to repairing our most critically deficient roads and bridges. And very specifically, we've got language that says 50% of these monies will go toward the repair of bridges that are deemed the most deficient, the other 50% in roads and streets. So we've made clear here that even municipalities will qualify for assistance through this program. Now, in sections 22 and then 25 through 26, we provide in the third year, that would be in year 2023, the overall gross vehicle weight only under the harvest permit will be increased to 88,000 pounds. You can find this, I don't have a line number for you, I'm sorry, but sections 22 and then 25 to 26. Some people have, called, have had a lot of discussions today about this language in the bill. I'm very confident that this is the right way to go. I have no hesitation whatsoever in setting it up this way, several years of funding followed by a weight increase. We have to look at our surrounding states and compare. Our roads, Mississippi ranks about 25th for overall road conditions, Alabama ranks 10th, Tennessee ranks 7th. All of the surrounding states have higher weight limits than we do. For that reason, we have lost several economic development opportunities. In fact, over the last 18 months, we have gained 5. When I say economic development opportunities, I'm talking about those that take advantage of those agricultural commodities. We've gained 5, but we've lost about 12. That's pretty significant. So that's what those sections in the bill do. Section 22 talks about fines for our overweight haulers. Now, I'm talking about seriously overweight, starting on line 1284. For those 95,000 up to 100,000 pounds, the fines are increased to $1,500. Over 100,000 pounds, the fines go up to $2,500, then $3,500. Third offense could result in loss of a harvest permit. So we're getting really serious there and sending the message that we are taking measures to improve our infrastructure system, and we want to make sure that the people out there operating under the harvest permit are following the laws that we put into place. Now, as a side note, in Section 20, the loggers requested that we give them the ability to purchase a metal tag that displays the maximum the maximum weight limit under the permit. So that is provided in Section 20. We've been working with the Department of Revenue today to sort of fine-tune the wording there. Sections 1 through 19 of the bill allows for a transfer of MDOT enforcement over to DPS. This change will be effective July 1 of this year. We feel like this change will allow for more efficiency, save us money by reducing the duplication of services there. You all know a similar move is being made with the Capitol Police. This is a very important point, and I believe Senator Jackson had a couple of questions about this. If you'll look at lines 94 through 99, it's very clear here that the MDOT enforcement employees will have the same rank, salary, and benefits that they currently enjoy. The plan here is to create a separate division under DPS, and I've had numerous meetings with Commissioner Tyndall on this and how it would work. But we want to be very clear, these employees, we intend to protect them and their years of service as they come over to a new agency. There's some very, very talented men and women there who have worked for the state a long time. We want to make sure we honor that and protect that. So I've put the appropriate language there. Now, together, all of these changes, I really believe, will be good for our transportation system, our infrastructure, and economic development going forward. It's a long-range plan, and I really believe this is going to work. So I do ask for your support on this bill. And Madam Chair, I'm happy to yield for questions at this time.
Are there any questions of committee members? Senator England?
Thank you, Madam Chair Blackman. Madam Chair Branning, I appreciate you appearing online and glad to hear you with us here today to talk with us on this. I do have a question, and I understand with talking with you earlier that this was this is something you've researched a good bit as far as competitiveness in our state, and I like that. I think that we need to be more competitive, but I don't understand how Alabama and Louisiana, they may be ranked higher than us, or their system may be ranked higher than ours, and I just don't understand how increasing our weight load on our roads is going to better our system. To me, the fact that we've got heavier vehicles traveling over our roads may actually lead to more damage. And if I'm incorrect on that, I'd appreciate you letting me know, because I don't know
Sure.
what other reason why we would have weight limits on our vehicles other than to make sure that our roadways are safe and maintained properly.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to address that. I'm glad that you asked. So your first part of your question seemed to be, if the surrounding states have higher weight, how are we putting ourselves at a competitive advantage by increasing our weight, if I understood your question correctly. And it goes like this. When we have people like in Viva and different companies that are coming here to establish facilities to take advantage of our natural resources, and I'm using timber as an example, that just seems to be what I know a little more about. There are others too, but they're going to count their cost of doing business, and one of those costs is how much will it cost them to get their product in? How quickly can they receive the product in on trucks? Well, that is determined by how much weight the state of Mississippi allows them to haul. That's a very, very big factor. And if you talk to economic development people from our state, from other states, that's on the top of a lot of those lists for companies like that. So it is a very big deal. And like I stated, over the past 18 months, while we've gained 5 developments, we've lost 12 that I know of. There could be more than that. Now, with regard to your comment on weight on the road and all of those things, well, this plan allows for 3 years worth of funding, very, very concentrated to repairing those areas of our state that we know are deficient. And that's my plan. I want to make sure that we're staying on track to make those repairs. In the 3rd year is when the weight limits do increase to give us time to prepare for that. Now, the surrounding states, while there is a different You know, we're at number 25, and I think Alabama's at number 10, and Tennessee's at number 7. Their weight limits are higher, so that tells me that weight is just one part of the equation in overall highway maintenance. You know, you have to look at how much money we're putting into roads. My thought is this: if we put ourselves in a position to be competitive and we draw industry here, that's more revenue into our state to put back into our roads for future generations. Please let me know if I did not answer your question. I'll try to do a little better.
Thank you, Senator Branning. I think that answers my question. I just would again reiterate my concern of overloading our system currently with you know, we currently have a situation with our roads and highways that we've tried to fix. I know we've got the lottery funds that go into the highway now, and I agree with a lot of portions of the bill. The one portion that gives me concern, though, is that we're working to improve our current highway situation, but we're going to use this money now to either repair roads that are hurt from weight issues, and I just wonder if we're now, you know, spending money that we have coming in on something when we already had an issue that we needed to spend money on, if that makes sense. But I appreciate you answering my question. I think you did a good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions of the committee members? What's the pleasure? Senator Horn?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Branning, I like Senator England, want to commend you for your efforts in trying to bring this issue to some sort of resolution. And like him, I'm also concerned about raising the weight enforcement limits up to 88,000 pounds. Even though we may be losing some business, it appears to me that we might be creating some ancillary problems with our roads and bridges being torn up and destroyed by that additional weight. Can you speak to that?
I can, Senator Horn. I'm very glad that you asked that question. Based on my research, I find that the rebuilds on our bridges are being rebuilt to specs around 92 to 93,000 pounds. So a weight increase, we're already building our infrastructure to accommodate more weight. And doing the math, if we do go up to 88,000, everybody keep in mind this is not immediate. This is 3 years down the road. We've got time to continue to work and improve our infrastructure. But in the event we do go up to 88,000, my math indicates, based on last year's harvest, that we could save ourselves from having 84,000 fewer trucks on the road. So this is because you can get more weight on a truck at one time. So that is significant. Think about that. 84,000 fewer loads on our roads. So I do not believe this is a situation where we are setting ourselves up for further damage to the roads. I think it is progressive thinking here. I think it's economically sound. And I think it's a good plan. But I do appreciate your question, Senator Horn, and if I did not answer you in full, please let me know. I'll try to offer some more information.
Okay. You mentioned that going forward, future roads would be able to accommodate that weight, but what about the existing roads? Are we going to do anything in the interim between now and 3 years to make existing roads be able to handle that 88,000 pounds?
That's why we are proposing $240 million into the Emergency Road and Bridge Repair Fund over 3 years. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with this program, but I'll just sort of reiterate, it has been wonderful. It is set up with an advisory board of several industry leaders, Farm Bureau, Poultry Association, the cattlemen. Several people sit on this board and they get together and help prioritize projects because they know the state They know what roads are most critical for industry that's trying to conduct business within the state. So yes, there very much is a plan to try to pinpoint our most critical roads out there, and I believe we've got the money in the bill to do just that. I'll tell you that since 2018, when we put together this initial fund, the funding at that time was $250 million in general obligation bonds. We have since been able to repair over 200 bridges at the state level. And so another round of this money, 3 more years, I'm confident that we'll be able to make great strides to improve infrastructure to support the weight increase that I'm proposing.
Okay, and what is that fund that the $240 million would go into?
It's the Emergency Road and Bridge Repair Fund, Senator, and it was established through the special session of 2018. And the initial funding that went into that fund was $250 million in bonds.
Yeah. And so you're not talking about the diversion from the lottery proceeds?
Yes, I am. Yes, let me be clear. In this bill, I'm talking about diverting lottery proceeds into this fund that we've already established. The reason that I want to do that is because this advisory board that is made up of these industry leaders will help pinpoint the most critical areas of our state in which to plug this money. So I think it's very important that this fund is utilized for that purpose.
Okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, we would take the $80 million a year for the next 3 years in the Emergency Road and Bridge Fund and put it on roads that handle this weight of these log trucks and other industrial vehicles, as opposed to, and I don't know if you're aware that in the Finance Committee earlier today, we passed a standalone plan for the Emergency Road and Bridge Fund that provides $80 million to roads and bridges throughout the state. But if I understand you correctly, the $80 million a year would go to specific areas where there's a lot of logging and other industrial activity.
So, Senator, I'll tell you that Senator Sojourner and I have been working together on that language, and the language in the standalone bill and in this bill is the same language. So, as you know, it's not uncommon to have multiple vehicles sometimes that address the same issue to make sure it makes it through the process. So it's the same idea. And let me see if I can take you to a line number that shows you the language in the bill. And so it's, bear with me just a moment. Line 1506 is where it starts talking about the lottery funds. And in there, the proposal is that half of the money will be spent on bridge repair and the other half road and street repair. And so that's the guidance that we have given this advisory board. Now, it will be up to this advisory board, and then NDOT is also involved in the process to determine, in their professional opinion, what roads and bridges need repair first. They'll be able to prioritize projects.
If I understand the distinction between this bill and the earlier bill, it does not necessarily provide for funding, the former bill, for funding that would go to specific areas of the state where there's logging activity or the need to transport agricultural produce and whatnot. It's just generally set forth to deal with where the road and bridge repair is needed most in the state regardless.
So this bill doesn't specify areas of the state. My intention is not to box in the advisory board, but they will be able to prioritize projects with the thought in mind that weight will be increased in 3 years should this body, decide to pass this legislation. So nowhere in here does it specify any certain county, any certain municipality, but it does say half of the money on bridges, half of it on roads and streets, to be sure that plenty of money is going to bridge repair. I know that looking at the research that I've done amongst states, we have more deficient bridges than any of our surrounding states. So that tells me that's really where the need is, or one of our needs.
Okay, have you heard from anyone with the Railroad Association or anyone representing the railroad community?
I have, yes, I have.
And can you share with us what their position is on this bill?
Well, I'm sure they've talked to every committee member, and I've spent time with them on the phone yesterday and today. They have concerns about it, and I think their concerns are primarily that they think it puts them at a competitive disadvantage within the state. I don't agree with that. I feel like this bill puts us as a state at a competitive advantage with our surrounding states, and that helps everybody within Mississippi, including the railroads. So that's been my response to them. But I have spent time with them. We visited to see if there was any language that we both could live with. But this is the bill that we have before us in the committee sub. But yes, I have spoken with the railroad.
And so you are aware that they're concerned that, especially the short line carriers, that if we pass this bill, it will put a lot of them out of business.
They have expressed that concern to me, but my understanding from having a lot of friends and constituents in the wood products industry, anywhere there is a short line available, that's what people want to use. Those rail cars can hold almost 3 times what a truck can hold. So they're very desirable. In fact, if there were more of them in the state, people would jump to use those, but unfortunately we don't have those in every timber plantation and every pine plantation and every row crop. They're not everywhere in the state, but where they are, they're very valuable in those communities. This bill is not designed to hurt the railroad. This bill is designed to take advantage of an opportunity that I think we have as Mississippians. We've got an abundant natural resource in timber, and we're good at agriculture. That is what we are as a state. And so this bill is intended to put us in a position to compete with the surrounding states.
But they have expressed to you their concerns that this may put some of them out of business. Is that correct?
They have expressed that to me.
Okay. And have you spoken with anyone at MDOT as to their position regarding the legislation?
Ms. McGrath and I have spoken in passing a couple of times, and I know that they're not a fan of this legislation. Anytime you talk about increasing weights or axle tolerances, they get a little bit nervous about it. But I think we have to look at this bill as a whole. This is not a standalone weight increase bill. With it comes money and it comes planning. It's a long-range idea. It's got economic development tied to it. So it's a good bill.
So let me ask you this. There isn't a lot of logging or heavyweight transport of goods and materials in every part of the state. It only exists in certain parts of the state. And so for those areas that don't have this, and we're talking about $80 million a year, are they going to have to take a back seat to those areas where there is a lot of heavy logging and so forth?
That will be up to the advisory board and to MDOT. They'll be able to prioritize the projects that they think are the most necessary. You're correct. There's not logging in every area of the state. That doesn't mean there aren't infrastructure needs in those other places. So I still think that everybody gets a seat at the table, just like every, counties, municipalities, and DOT. They were all able to apply for these funds beginning in the fall of 2018. It will be the same process and scenario with this round of money. They'll be able to apply and show the needs, and they'll be able to prioritize those needs.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Horn.
Thank you.
Council has advised me that Senator Sojourner's bill only deals with counties and municipalities, and this bill deals with the state, counties, and municipalities. Senator England.
Thank you, Chairman Blackman. I would say at this time, I'm happy to yield to other senators if I can be moved to the bottom of the list, if that's okay with you.
Okay, Senator Blunt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to be recognized for an amendment at the proper time.
Let's get all the questions first.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
Senator Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Senator Brandon,
Yes.
in serving as a county supervisor for about 20 years, how will this bill help in our county roads and our state aid roads? If how are we going to bring those roads up to standard to get to the major highway?
Well, Senator, I'm glad that you asked that question. The counties will be able to apply for this money, just like they were able to apply for the first round of $250 million, and show their critical needs. And the advisory board will be able to give them a fair look, just like they did in the first round of money. So they absolutely have a good chance of applying for and receiving additional monies to improve the county roads.
Okay. Are you aware that counties has applied for money, and it has been stated that it will take anywhere from 10 to 20 years to get to the standard that they are trying to get to at this time?
No, sir, I am not aware of that statistic, but I am aware that when the fund was established, there were $250 million available. I think over $900 million worth of applications were submitted, so there are still needs out there. And I feel really good about putting another $240 million into this fund. And who knows, if we are able to pass this and we see how well it works and everyone is pleased, this body may decide to continue to put additional monies after that time to continue addressing needs at the local level. But this is a really good opportunity for the counties and municipalities to receive some additional help on their infrastructure.
Okay. So you say it's a real good opportunity for them.
It is.
I guess one of the things that I'm looking at, if it's an opportunity, why we can't wait for a while and go and take advantage of the opportunity for the state aid roads and the county roads, and then come back and visit us at another time.
Well, so in the bill, Senator, it provides for in the third year is when the weight increase will go into effect to give us time for the repairs and to see how things are going. Keep in mind, this body will meet 2 times prior to that weight increase. And so in the event you decide that progress is not being made or things need to be changed, we certainly have 2 more bites at the apple prior to that time.
Thank you, Senator Brown.
Thank you.
Any other questions of committee members? Senator Ingram.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thanks again, Senator Branning. I had another question here, and I know this is tough over Zoom, so if I misunderstood, you can let me know after my question. What I want to say is I believe I have the same concerns that the Department of Transportation has, if I understood you correctly, about the weight limit still, and the amount of weight that is going to be put on the roads. Did I understand that you said that an increase in weight that you believe that would lead to a reduction in traffic on the roads? Is that what you said?
That's correct. Among those people that have the harvest permit, there's a list of commodities under the harvest permit statute where people haul those certain commodities, they can apply for the harvest permit. Among those people, my figures indicate that we're going to have possibly as many as 84,000 fewer trucks on the road annually by allowing this additional weight on the truck.
Is that assuming that we do not have any other industries come in, or because my concern is that I understand that that's a projection, but I also understand from previous discussions with Department of Transportation and others that when we increase lanes on a road, sometimes that actually increases traffic on those roads. You have more people traveling those roads, and if we increase the weight limit, I'm not sure that's going to correlate with less traffic. And if that doesn't, it's my concern that the weight on the road has nothing to do with how many you know, how many fewer vehicles you have. It's that individual truck has more weight on it per that square foot or square inch of roadway. And if we're mistaken in the assumption that we're going to have fewer trucks on the road, then we're running the risk right now of using funds that we set aside, and that we created a lottery for essentially a few years ago to upgrade our road as it was then, but we're going to put a new load on our road that I just don't know that we can take. Did I understand you, Senator Branning, that the Department of Transportation is not entirely on board with this? Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm certainly, I'm sure that they've all reached out to you on this bill. You know, when a couple of years ago, we did some work on the actual tolerance bill, you know, they were not in favor of that either. And I understand their position. It's fine. You know, they are in charge of maintaining our roads, so they're apprehensive about that. But listen, if our surrounding states can have higher weights and have for years and years and years, we need to move forward. We are losing economic development opportunities. To your question about the traffic, let me be sure that I may not have been really clear. My figures are only based on last year's harvest numbers. That's the only information I can go on, and so very specific to the people that have harvest permits. Okay, so it doesn't mean, when I'm saying traffic, I'm not meaning pedestrian or you know, non-truck traffic. I'm only speaking to the log trucks and the people that haul grain and sand and gravel and things of that nature.
Okay, thank you, Senator Brady. I think you did answer my question. My concerns still remain, but I appreciate you answering my questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I've got one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Does anyone in here know what 4,000 pounds looks like? Senator Whaley, you could you give me a description of 4,000 pounds?
As far as grain or wood commodities? As far as grain commodities, I think everybody has seen a pallet of feed at a store. You're talking about a pallet of feed that's 3,000 pounds. And that gets you pretty close to what you're thinking about. And a lot of people, I'm going to assume that a lot of people here have never loaded a truck with soybeans or corn, besides Senator Younger and myself probably, but a lot of variables go into this, and that's what part of this goes to, those variables that are unforeseen that you can't foresee. So it's, you know, a ton of weight is not a lot when it comes to grain commodities as far as sheer volume and size. It's very, very small compared to what you would think.
Any other questions of members? Senator Blunt, you're recognized for an amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My amendment is to delete Section 1. I'll be happy to explain it.
Delete section 1,
Yes, ma'am.
the title.
And amend to conform.
Yes.
Thank you. A bill that invests no additional dollars into infrastructure should not be referred to as the Transportation Infrastructure Investment Act. There's no new money in this bill. It's hard to remember life before COVID, and it's consumed all of us in the work of the legislature. But I do remember in 2019 that infrastructure was a huge issue in the primary campaigns of both parties and in the general election. And in the last 34 years, the only thing this legislature has done to put more money into infrastructure is hope people buy lottery tickets. I mean, since Billy McCoy led the 87 highway program to passage, the only new money that we put into infrastructure is lottery tickets. And we did bond some money, and those were needed projects, but I mean, borrowing money is not a long-term strategy. So the bill, as I understand it, does three things. It deals with the Emergency Road and Bridge Repair Fund, and I agree with Senator Branning. I think that's worth discussing. And for those of you who aren't on the Finance Committee, I'll say to you, like Senator Horn mentioned, there is another bill which is passed out of committee, which is alive, that we can have that conversation about. The other two issues are to move law enforcement from MDOT to the Department of Public Safety and to raise the weight limit. There is no infrastructure investment in the act, and for that reason, I don't think it should be called that, and that's why I'll offer my amendment and ask you to vote for it.
Senator Bryan.
I have a substitute motion. I move to table if I'm recognized to do that, and if I am, I'd like to speak.
You're recognized.
The highways in this state were constructed for a certain weight limit. We can't change the impact that weight has on the roads by enacting legislation. The damage to the roads by overweight loads will be done. If we could do that, we could do something really useful, like shorten the gestation period of cattle. That would be a great economic boom. But the roads in this state are not, think for a minute, within 3 years, we're somehow going to kit the roads in the state so they can carry additional weight that they were not designed to carry. There's a reason that people are calling you from the highway department and elsewhere concerned about the weight limit on the road. I can't imagine that we're doing such a thing. We all drive on the roads. We know what sort of shape they're in. And the notion that we would put additional weight on those roads which cannot bear it is just beyond comprehension. Had we built better roads, and had we built roads that were designed to carry a greater weight, it would be one thing. And if we had indeed merely maintained the existing roads that we have, it would be a different thing. We're not even putting enough money into the highway department to maintain the existing roads that we have. This is no time to start talking about increasing the weight on the roads. And for that reason, I just think the best thing to do is to table the bill here in committee.
Anyone else like to speak to the motion to table? Would you like to close, Senator Blunt? No, I'm sorry, he made a motion. That's right, you had an amendment. All those in favor of the motion to table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
The chair is in doubt. All those in favor, would you raise your hand? 4, 5, 6, 7. I can vote because I'm acting. All those opposed, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The motion fails. Senator Blunt?
If we're back on my amendment, Madam Chair, I move adoption of the amendment.
All those in favor of Senator Blunt's amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
No.
The chair is in doubt. Would you please raise your hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The chair is no longer in doubt. The motion fails.
Back on the bill.
We're back on the bill. May I get a motion? All those in favor of title sufficient to pass committee sub, would you please raise your hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those, and Senator, well, she didn't vote until.
Yes, I'm voting yes,
Well,
Madam
you
Chair.
don't vote unless it's a tie. Isn't that correct? She does. Oh, Delano was on? All those against, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is against 6, 7. It's 8-7. The bill will be reported. May I get a motion to rise and report? All those in favor? Thank you all.